What a season. What a season. Most importantly, what a good follow-up to Warrior Season 2. Had HBO Max not picked this up for a third season, I would have been mad. Season 3 introduced a few more plot elements to develop our characters further, and this season definitely delivered. Now, let's get to the breakdown of episode 10 of Warrior Season 3, the finale. A window of opportunity. The season finale opens up with Mai Ling's Lady Duck friend Eliza being confronted by her in the middle of the night. She cuts deep with her words by addressing her husband as unfaithful and a womanizer, and that she's known about his behavior all along, but chose to hate the other woman instead of her husband. And that's just me putting it nicely. She says way more colder and meaner things here that I'm just like, damn, Mai Ling a bad bitch. Mai Ling slowly inches her dagger up her thigh, and just when you think she's gonna stab her, she gives her the dagger instead as a gift. A memento from Mai Ling for when Eliza can no longer bear the thought of her husband's adultery. And intro. The shortest story thread in this finale was Mayor Buckley's, or should I say Mayor Cuckley, because he proposed to Catherine and wanted to marry her. Turns out, Catherine and Buckley's political assistant are in cahoots with each other and are planning something by manipulating Buckley. Guess we'll find out what their plan is next season. The second shortest story thread is Atoy. Her and Nellie go to Douglas's mansion and they finally have a proper sword duel. But Atoy easily defeats and kills him with little to no effort. However, this act of vengeance does nothing for her. She still feels saddened by all the events that transpired this season. Thankfully, Nellie is there to comfort her. I wish the fight between Douglas and Atoy went on a little bit longer, but I can see the direction. It wasn't about who was the better swordsman, it was more about the aftermath, and how vengeance does not lessen the pain of loss. Oh yeah, guess who was also at Douglas's mansion before he got murked? Bill and Leary. Leary nearly got killed by Douglas's goons last episode, but he barely survives and prepares to go kill Douglas with his own hands. Bill crosses paths with Leary due to his investigation of the dead goons, and tries to stop Leary from committing murder. And that's when they run into Atoy and Nellie, who just killed Doug. I also just realized that Bill might have never known that Atoy was the swordsman that they were looking for in seasons 1 and 2, and there might be some repercussions from him knowing about this knowledge. But most importantly, Bill's an ally of the Chinese now, so he might not want to hurt a friend/informant if he wants to be doing stuff in Chinatown. Bill and Leary then get rid of Doug's body together at Bill's brother-in-law's factory to take the heat off of Leary. No pun intended. I have a feeling this action may come back to bite Leary in the ass in a future season, because even though Doug is dead and won't be able to manage railroads with Chinese labor anymore, there will always be plenty of other wealthy ducks to take up his position. And speaking of wealthy ducks, Leary meets with the same businessman whose hand he stuck a knife through earlier this season, but this time, Leary has learned how to play the game of politics. I love how Leary has learned a code switch here basically, and it makes me really excited to see how he's going to interact with other people in future seasons and how his role as a political person will progress. Because now, he can actually hold a conversation well without letting his Irish rage take over. After dirtying his hands with Leary, Bill returns to the police station to meet with Lee and Mosley to finally end this counterfeit operation at the ice factory for good. Of course, their inside man is Assam. But Happy Jack's goons are there also, thanks to Chow's attempt at a ruse last episode. Assam is forced to hand the plates over to Lee, until one of the gangsters tries to reach for it, and a shootout ensues. Lee does a cool Terminator flip with his rifle, which is of no importance, but I thought that was badass. The new leader of Happy Jack's gang then tries to run away with the plates, but Assam quickly catches up, kills him, and hands the plates over for Lee to take, before getting out of the factory and getting bonked in the head by a bull he previously whooped in episode 4, and getting saved by Hong. Once the plates are in Agent Mosley's hands, he bids farewell to Lee and promises to wipe away his bounty once he gets back to Los Angeles. Lee also lets Yan Mi go free, but worries for her safety because of her ties to the Hop Way. I'm actually kind of surprised at how smoothly the counterfeit plate arc kind of resolved itself. I mean, you couldn't have just arrested a few of Hop Way or Happy Jack's men or whatever? That would have at least help the case a little bit and not make it feel like it just kind of, boom, done. Once the case with the counterfeit plates is closed, Bill, Lucy, Bill's wife, Lee, and Abigail all have a drink at Bill's house. Everything feels like it's going back to normal to the point where even Lee thinks about becoming a cop again, but without having to beat up Chinese or doing Mayor Cuckley's biddings. But Bill has to run it by the chief first. Yan Mi, on the other hand, she goes to warn her father or else they'll get diced by the Hop Wei, but her father refuses to leave and basically disowns her. Yan Mi tries to make him see her point of view, but she already seems to be dead to him. Man, that was some hardcore Asian level parenting. Yan Mi makes it to the train station and Chow shows up. She tries to leave and go find Assam when he's not with Chow, but Chow tells her to go on the train in order to avoid getting diced. She leaves Chow a message to pass on to Assam and boards the train. Then Zing stabs Chow in the back.
How the fuck are you, Chow?
I shouted at my screen when Zing showed up. I was like, ah! Zing is out of prison and ready to cause some more chaos, but Chow is left bleeding out at an empty train station. I want to believe that Chow is alive, but then there's also a part of me that thinks that he shouldn't come back. Chow's already defeated Happy Jack's gang, saved Yan Mi, planted a few mental seeds in a few characters to motivate them, saved his daughter. What else could he do? I don't think the Tongs are going to be on talking terms after what happened in this episode, and I feel like the status quo of Chinatown is going to change so much that I don't know what kind of role Chow could play within it. The final story thread this season ends on is with Assam and the Hop Wei. Assam awakens hours after getting bonked on the head by a bull, only to find out Young Jun and the rest of the Hop Wei are gearing up to go dice the person who fucked with their counterfeit operation. Assam thinks Young Jun is going after Yan Mi for a moment, until he corrects him that they're going after Mai Ling. I'm not gonna lie, I was so fixated on Yan Mi's safety that I forgot all about Mai Ling. The realization of Mai Ling's possible death finally arriving makes Assam worried instead of relieved. Young Jun wants him to not join their operation because
no one should have to kill their own family.
Yikes. And he also doesn't want Assam protecting her, so he finally puts him on the spot to choose a side. And so, Assam drops his Hop Wei jacket and tries to leave. And of course, it wasn't going to be that easy to leave. Assam gets backed up into a corner, and he's forced to scrap his way out. I rewatched this fight scene probably like as many times as I did the Chinatown riot fight, and it just gets better and better every time. Where the fight during the Chinatown riot felt triumphant, this fight against the Hop Wei felt therapeutic. But that's just me. Like, this has been a long time coming. Assam didn't want to be in the Hop Wei, but was just forced into it, and eventually found brotherhood through it. But his goals did not meet the Hop Wei's goals in the very end. This fight also reminds me of that one fight against the Hop Wei members in Season 1, but amped up to 11. And just when I thought they weren't going to pay off that nunchuck training from earlier episodes, they fucking did it. It was awesome seeing him use 2, and that fucking battle cry from Assam. Chills every time. Meanwhile, in Long Z territory, Hop Wei Hatchamen are trying to dice Mai Ling, but she's holding her own pretty well at the moment. Assam then finally faces Young Jun and Hong, and it's obvious it pains Young Jun to fight his own brother. But I believe all three are somewhat ready to do what is necessary to see each of their goals through, even if it means fighting. There are so many visual callbacks to Bruce Lee related things within this fight with our Hop Wei trio that I was just happy to see them. You have the dual wielding nunchucks and the white tank top, of course. Duh. Ditching the nunchucks to go back to hand, the fighting stance, the 1-inch punch, the teacher killer beatdown, and the rib busting sidekick. Assam and Young Jun both weakly fight outside, and I should also mention Assam got stabbed earlier during the fight beforehand, and he takes the knife from Young Jun before turning it on him. But you can see the realization start to kick in on Assam's face here. This is where you see him start to acknowledge and care for Young Jun like a brother, hence why he knocks him out instead of killing him. He then starts making a way to Mai Ling's place, still bleeding. Mai Ling finally runs out of luck, and gets her leg wounded by a hatchet. She tries to flee the hatchet man, but he slams her against a stone pond and tries drowning her in it. But Mai Ling has a dagger in her boot. Assam finally arrives to where Mai Ling is, thinking he failed and she died, only for her to reawaken and aim her dagger at him. And in a very long time, ever since the pilot episode, we hear Assam refer to Mai Ling as Jiao Jing when he comforts his sister as she uncontrollably sobs from the events that just conspired. And that concludes Warrior Season 3. Well, almost. We get a post-credits scene of Liang being confronted by his Long Z comrades before they all take off their jackets and join him. Liang then walks into the streets of Chinatown, now a leader of a new, and hopefully more honor-driven, group. Now Warrior Season 3 has come to an end. This episode wrapped up so many storylines in a satisfying way, yet it still left you wanting more. Xing is now back in the fold, Chao is holding on to dear life, Atoy is still processing her loss, Cuckley is being played with by a third party, Leary is playing the game of ducks, Young Jun and Hong have lost their brother in arms, Assam and Jiao Jing have reunited, and Liang is now a leader. There are so many ways this story could go that, like I said before, the status quo of Warrior is going to change drastically with all the stuff that's happened here, that friends are becoming enemies and enemies becoming friends. I'm hoping that once this writer and actor strike is over with and dealt with, that we can maybe get a renewal of Season 4, but I'm not going to hold my breath to it. For now, I guess we'll just be waiting here again like that time in Season 2 ended, and we saw Assam, bloodied and bruised, walking out into the rain, unsure of what his next step was. Only time will tell if we'll get a Season 4. Only time will tell. Thank you all so much for the support and love you gave on every breakdown video, and I'm just like, wow. I don't really do videos like this, but I'm glad that I did, because I love almost everything Bruce Lee and just this show in general, and that I just wanted to give it more love because I love the characters, the settings, and all their journeys, and I want to see how it continues. Like, give me 5 seasons of this. Like, I want it. But thank you all again for watching, and be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and maybe check out some of my other content that isn't Warrior related. And, as always, stay itchy, my fellow onions.